The Grand Chamber of the Galactic Council fell silent as another star system vanished from the massive holographic display. Councillor Zextal's secondary hearts skipped a beat as the Centauric cluster, home to over 30 billion sentient beings, transformed into an expanding void of absolute darkness. The Starweaver has consumed its fourth major system this cycle, announced First Speaker Nyx, her crystalline form reflecting the dim emergency lights that now illuminated the chamber. Our strongest energy shields prove useless. Our most advanced quantum weaponry passes through it, as if firing into empty space. The assembled representatives of over 300 species shifted uncomfortably in their environmental bubbles. The Starweaver had appeared 3 months ago, emerging from the depths of intergalactic space. It consumed light, matter, and energy with equal hunger, leaving only darkness in its wake. Dr. Lyra, a junior xenobiologist from the Rigel Institute, cleared her throat. Her tentacles twisted nervously as she approached the central platform. Honorable Council, I believe I have found something unusual in our neural pattern studies. The first speaker's crystalline structure chimed softly, indicating permission to continue. Dr. Lyra projected her findings onto the main display, replacing the map of destruction with complex neural wavelength patterns. We've analyzed the neural signatures of every known spacefaring species, she explained, her voice growing steadier. The Starweaver appears to consume consciousness itself, absorbing and integrating neural patterns into its expanding network. However, there's one species whose patterns show remarkable resistance. Murmurs filled the chamber as Dr. Lyra highlighted a chaotic, almost random-looking neural scan. This belongs to a species from a high-gravity world in the Orion Spur. They call themselves humans, and their homeworld, Earth, is what we classify as a death world. The murmurs turned to gasps of shock. Deathworlders were rare in the galaxy, and most species gave them a wide berth. Any planet with high gravity, extreme temperature variations, and high levels of environmental toxins was automatically classified as too dangerous for standard colonization. Their neural patterns are unlike anything we've encountered, Dr. Lyra continued, highlighting specific sections of the scan. Where most species develop ordered, efficient neural pathways, humans have what appears to be controlled chaos. Their thoughts bounce between multiple parallel pathways, creating backup systems and redundancies we don't fully understand. First Speaker Nyx leaned forward, her crystalline form catching the light. Are you suggesting we seek help from Deathworlders? The evidence suggests their chaotic neural patterns might be naturally resistant to the Starweaver's influence, Dr. Lyra responded. Their minds evolved to handle constant environmental threats. They process multiple survival scenarios simultaneously, making it difficult for any external force to predict or control their thoughts. The chamber erupted in heated discussion. Asking Deathworlders for help was unprecedented. Their physical capabilities alone made many species uncomfortable. Beings who could survive radiation, pressure changes, and toxic environments were often viewed with a mixture of fear and awe. We have no choice, First Speaker Nyx declared, bringing immediate silence to the chamber. The Starweaver has already consumed 4 systems. Our most advanced civilizations have failed to stop it. If these humans might hold the key to survival, we must set aside our prejudices. Dr. Lyra's tentacles rippled with relief as she displayed the coordinates for Earth. There's something else you should know about humans, she added. They have a remarkable drive to help others, even at great personal risk. Their historical records show countless examples of individuals risking death to save strangers. Then we shall appeal to this characteristic, First Speaker Nyx decided. Prepare a diplomatic vessel immediately. We must approach these Deathworlders with respect and honesty. The galaxy's survival may depend on species we once considered too primitive to join our council. As the chamber emptied, Dr. Lyra studied the human neural patterns once more. In their beautiful chaos, she saw something the others had missed, not just the potential for survival, but the possibility of a completely new way of thinking about the universe itself. Ambassador Zixtal's environmental suit reported 15 different hazard warnings as the diplomatic vessel approached Earth's orbital station. The nitrogen-oxygen atmosphere alone would be lethal to most Council species, and the radiation levels from the system's star made their shielding work overtime. "Remarkable," murmured Dr. Lyra, her tentacles pressed against the observation window. "They built this station using primarily physical materials rather than energy fields. The design seems almost organic." The human space station stretched before them like a blooming flower, its rotating sections creating artificial gravity through centripetal force. Solar panels extended like petals, while smaller vessels moved between the sections like busy pollinators. Their ship received docking clearance, and Zixtal prepared himself for the horror of meeting actual Deathworlders. The diplomatic team had studied human broadcasts, but nothing could have prepared them for their first direct encounter. Captain Maya Patel was tending to the hydroponics bay when the alien delegation arrived. She casually handled plants that the visitors' scanners identified as containing enough toxins to kill a dozen different species. Her movements were swift and precise, displaying the enhanced muscle density typical of humans raised in Earth's punishing gravity. "Welcome to Orbital Garden 1, Maya greeted them, setting down a particularly lethal-looking flowering plant. "I hope you'll excuse my appearance. These Ethiopian coffee plants needed pruning, and they get rather particular about their timing." Zixtal's translator took a moment to process her words. The human was apologizing for maintaining toxic vegetation, while simultaneously suggesting it was the plants that made the demands. The concept was so absurd that his secondary brain had to assist in processing it. "Captain Patel," Dr. Lyra stepped forward, her environmental suit gleaming under the station's lights. "We come with urgent news from the Galactic Council. A threat has emerged that—" A sudden tremor shook the station. The alien delegation froze in terror, but Maya simply adjusted her stance, continuing to work as she pulled up a holographic display. "Just a minor solar flare," she explained, noting their distress. "The station's skeleton crew is stress testing our new radiation shielding today. We've incorporated some interesting designs based on tardigrade biology. Would you like to see the labs?" The tour that followed challenged everything the alien delegation believed about technological advancement. They passed through sections of varying pressure, radiation levels, and atmospheric composition. Maya explained how humans had adapted their living spaces to include environments that would support different Earth species, from deep-sea creatures to high-altitude plants. "Each section teaches us something new about survival," Maya explained, leading them through a corridor lined with what appeared to be living walls. "These bacterial colonies help process our waste and maintain air quality. We learned it from studying Earth's cave systems." Dr. Lyra's scientific curiosity overcame her initial fear. "Your species seems to draw inspiration from your world's natural systems, rather than trying to overcome them entirely." Maya smiled, a gesture that still made Zixtal's chromatophores ripple nervously. "Earth taught us that adaptation is more reliable than domination. Every challenge on our world helped us develop new solutions." The delegation reached a viewing chamber just as the station passed into Earth's shadow. The planet below them transformed from brilliant blue to a glittering map of human civilization. "Beautiful, isn't it?" Maya asked, her voice soft. Each of those lights represents a community that learned to thrive in a different environmental challenge. Deserts, tundra, mountains, deep forests. Earth never made it easy for us. But that's exactly why we're still here. Zixtal exchanged glances with Dr. Lyra. Perhaps these Deathworlders, with their persistent drive to adapt rather than conquer, were exactly what the galaxy needed to face the Starweaver's unstoppable advance. The research laboratory aboard Orbital Garden 1 hummed with activity as Dr. James Chen studied the holographic representation of the Starweaver's energy pattern. While the alien scientists focused on complex quantum matrices and advanced energy field calculations, James found himself drawn to something simpler: the way the entity's field rippled like waves in an ocean. "It reminds me of something," he muttered, pulling up archived footage from Earth's deep-sea research. Dr. Lyra drifted closer, her tentacles curling with curiosity as James overlaid the two patterns. "Look at this," he said, highlighting the similarities between the Starweaver's movement and the way whales used sound to navigate. The entity isn't just consuming energy. It's reading the universe like a bat uses echolocation. Every system it destroys gives it more information about where to go next. The alien scientists paused their calculations, their various sensory organs focusing on James's display. Ambassador Zixtel's chromatophores flickered with surprise. "You're suggesting we understand this cosmic horror through the lens of Earth's ocean life." "Earth's oceans taught us that there's more than one way to perceive reality," James explained, pulling up more data from marine research. "Deep-sea creatures don't rely on light. They use pressure changes, electrical fields, and sound waves to build a picture of their world. The Starweaver might be doing something similar on a cosmic scale." Maya entered the laboratory, carrying samples from the station's marine biology section. "The ambassador mentioned you had an idea about sound waves, James." He nodded, expanding the holographic display. "We've been thinking about this wrong. Every advanced species in the galaxy relies on energy-based weapons and shields because they're efficient. But efficiency isn't always the answer. Sometimes you need chaos. Controlled chaos." Dr. Lyra's tentacles rippled with excitement as she began to understand. "Like your neural patterns. They resist integration because they're too unpredictable." "Exactly," James said, pulling up a new simulation. "What if we stopped trying to block the Starweaver with energy shields and instead disrupt its ability to perceive space? Earth's sperm whales can generate sounds loud enough to stun prey. If we could create something similar using modified gravity waves." The alien scientists watched in fascination as James demonstrated his theory using the lab's acoustic testing chamber. He set up a simple experiment. A stable energy field disrupted not by a more powerful opposing field, but by carefully calibrated sound waves that created patterns of constructive and destructive interference. "It's beautiful," Dr. Lyra whispered as the energy field fractured and dispersed. "Your species looks at problems from such unexpected angles. Where we see the need for more power, you see the potential for harmony and disruption." Maya smiled, remembering her grandmother's lessons about martial arts. "Sometimes the strongest force can be redirected with a gentle touch in the right place. Earth taught us that through countless examples." Ambassador Zixtel's color shifted to deep purple, a sign of profound respect in his species. "Your world's harsh conditions forced you to understand the fundamental patterns of nature itself. While we advanced past the need to study such things, you had to master them to survive." James began modifying the simulation to account for cosmic scales. Every challenge Earth presented became a lesson. Earthquakes taught us about wave propagation. Storms showed us how small disruptions can grow into massive forces. Even the smallest creatures, like the pistol shrimp that creates sonic booms underwater, showed us that size doesn't limit potential. As the team worked to refine the theory into a practical defense against the Starweaver, Dr. Lyra observed something remarkable. The humans didn't just solve problems. They seemed to genuinely enjoy the process of discovery. Each obstacle was treated not as a barrier, but as an opportunity to learn something new. Perhaps that, she realized, was the true gift Earth had given its children. Not just the strength to survive, but the curiosity to thrive. The observation deck of Orbital Garden 1 buzzed with activity as Maya reviewed holographic profiles of potential team members. Dr. Lyra watched in fascination as images of humans from various specialties floated past, each more surprising than the last. "Sarah Lakshmi, deep-sea structural engineer," Maya explained, expanding one profile. "She developed adaptive support systems based on whalebone architecture. Spent 3 years living in an underwater habitat at crushing depths." Ambassador Zixtel's chromatophores pulsed with concern. "These qualifications seem unusual for space combat." "We're not building a combat team," James interjected, pulling up technical schematics. We're assembling a group that understands how to work with extreme conditions. The Starweaver doesn't follow conventional rules of space warfare. Why should we? The next profile showed a weathered face with bright eyes. Dr. Marcus Wong, volcanic systems specialist. He pioneered techniques for using superheated plasma vents as energy sources. His understanding of fluid dynamics in extreme conditions will be invaluable. The alien delegation watched as Maya selected more specialists. An Arctic survival expert who developed metamaterial insulators, a storm chaser who revolutionized energy dispersion systems, and a cave explorer who mastered echo mapping techniques in complex underground systems. Each of these humans regularly survives in conditions we consider unsurvivable, Dr. Lyra noted, her tentacles moving in patterns of scientific excitement. But how will their Earth-based experiences translate to cosmic threats? James activated a large holographic display showing their modified ship designs. Earth taught us that adaptation isn't about being the strongest. It's about being the most responsive. Each team member brings a unique perspective on surviving impossible situations. The first ship blueprint rotated slowly, revealing systems unlike anything in the Galactic fleet. Inspired by deep-sea creatures, the hull could actively adjust its density and shape. Internal structures mimicked the shock-absorbing properties of mountain goat hooves, while the sensor arrays drew from the multispectral awareness of mantis shrimp. Traditional space vessels rely on rigid structures and energy shields, Maya explained, highlighting various systems. Ours will adapt like living things. When the Starweaver attacks one system, others will compensate automatically, just like a human body responding to injury. The assembled specialists gathered around a testing chamber where James demonstrated their modified wave generation system. The aliens watched in amazement as Sarah suggested incorporating principles from dolphin echolocation, while Marcus added insights about how superheated plasma could enhance the wave propagation. Your species continues to surprise us, Ambassador Zixtal admitted, observing the humans' enthusiastic collaboration. Where we seek to master our environment through technology, you learn to dance with it. Earth never gave us the luxury of mastery, Sarah responded, adjusting the wave harmonics. Every time we thought we had conquered nature, it showed us a new challenge. We learned to be humble students instead of conquerors. As the team worked, they incorporated more elements from Earth's extremes. Temperature regulation systems based on desert plants, emergency protocols inspired by hibernating animals, and communication methods drawing from underground fungal networks. Look at this, Dr. Wong called out, displaying a successful test result. By combining the pressure handling principles from deep-sea vents with the wave-generating technology, we've created something entirely new. It's not just about surviving the Starweaver's presence. We can actually communicate with it. Maya watched her assembled team with pride as they refined their innovations. Each person brought not just their expertise, but the fundamental lessons of their chosen environments: adaptability, resilience, and the wisdom to work with natural forces rather than against them. The aliens began to understand that humanity's greatest strength wasn't their ability to survive a death world. It was their capacity to learn from every challenge it presented. As the prototype systems came online, even the most skeptical observers had to admit that perhaps the galaxy's salvation would come not from advanced technology, but from those who had never stopped learning from their harsh cradle among the stars. The modified research vessel, Nautilus, dropped out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of the Proxima system. Through the advanced viewing screens, the crew watched the Starweaver's darkness spread like ink through water, consuming light and matter in its path. "It's beautiful, in a terrifying way," Sarah whispered from her station. Her deep-sea engineering experience had proven invaluable in redesigning the ship's pressure distribution systems. "Reminds me of watching bioluminescent organisms in the Midnight Zone." Maya studied the sensor readings, noting how the entity's patterns shifted and flowed. "Dr. Wong, are you seeing this? The energy dispersion looks similar to your volcanic plasma models." "Indeed," Marcus responded, his fingers dancing across the holographic controls. "The way it moves through space, it's not random. It's following paths of least resistance, just like superheated gases in a magma chamber. The alien observers aboard the Nautilus watched in tense silence. Their own fleet hung back at a safe distance, their advanced ships useless against the cosmic horror that approached. Dr. Lyra's tentacles coiled tightly as she monitored the human crew's surprisingly calm reactions. Beginning wave generation sequence, James announced, activating their modified systems. The ship hummed as it began producing complex patterns of gravitational waves, mimicking the songs of Earth's largest sea creatures scaled up to cosmic proportions. The Starweaver's advance slowed. Its darkness swirled in new patterns, as if listening. "It's responding," Sarah called out, excitement clear in her voice. "Just like deep-sea creatures reacting to changes in pressure waves. We need to adjust the frequency." Maya nodded, remembering countless hours spent studying Earth's oceans. "Try matching its movement patterns, like how whales synchronize their songs. We're not trying to fight it. We're trying to communicate." The ship's systems, inspired by nature's most resilient creatures, performed flawlessly. When the Starweaver probed their defenses with tendrils of darkness, the hull responded like a sea cucumber, becoming more rigid or flexible as needed. Their sensor arrays, based on the multifaceted eyes of mantis shrimp, provided a complete picture of the entity's behavior across multiple spectrums. "Look at this," Marcus said, highlighting a section of their readings. The wave patterns we're generating are creating something like a standing wave in the fabric of space itself. We're not just communicating, we're creating a stable zone where our physics and its can coexist. Ambassador Zixtel's chromatophores flickered rapidly as he watched the humans work. Where his people would have seen only death and destruction, these Deathworlders saw patterns to be understood, problems to be solved through observation and adaptation. The Starweaver suddenly surged forward, engulfing the Nautilus in complete darkness. The alien observers froze in terror, but the human crew remained focused. The ship's systems, drawing from countless natural adaptations, responded automatically to the changing conditions. "Hold steady," Maya commanded, her voice calm. "Remember how anglerfish create safe zones in the deepest ocean. We can do the same here." She activated their modified bioluminescence-inspired system, creating a bubble of stable space around the ship. Within the darkness, patterns of light and energy began to form. The Starweaver wasn't attacking. It was responding to their attempts at communication with patterns of its own. The barrier between comprehension and chaos began to thin. "Amazing," Dr. Lyra breathed, her scientific equipment recording everything. "You're not just surviving its presence, you're establishing a genuine connection." Sarah smiled, making final adjustments to their wave generators. "Earth taught us that understanding often comes from the darkest places. Sometimes you have to dive deep into the midnight zone to find the light." As the Nautilus maintained its position within the darkness, the human crew had proven something extraordinary. Their greatest strength wasn't their ability to fight the unknown, but their willingness to learn from it. In the space between light and shadow, humanity's first real conversation with the Starweaver was about to begin. Within the Nautilus's observation deck, the patterns of light dancing through the darkness began to take shape. Dr. Wang's fingers flew across the holographic controls as he mapped the Starweaver's responses against known deep-sea bioluminescence patterns. "These sequences," he muttered, "they're not random. They're following mathematical progressions similar to deep ocean communication networks." Sarah nodded, her eyes fixed on the swirling darkness beyond their stable bubble. Like the way bacterial colonies share information through chemical signals, the Starweaver isn't just reacting to us, it's trying to establish a baseline for communication. The alien observers watched in stunned silence as the humans continued to refine their approach. Dr. Lyra's tentacles moved in patterns of scientific excitement as she recorded every detail of the interaction. "Look at this," Maya called out, highlighting a recurring pattern in the void. The energy signatures match the way thermal vents create sustainable ecosystems in the ocean depths. It's not consuming energy randomly, it's creating circulation patterns. James pulled up comparative data from Earth's deep-sea thermal vents. The Starweaver might not be a destroyer at all. What if it's more like a cosmic gardener, preparing systems for a different kind of life? Ambassador Zixtel's chromatophores flickered with disbelief. You suggest this entity that has consumed entire systems might have a purpose beyond destruction. Earth taught us that destruction and creation often go hand in hand, Sarah explained, adjusting their sensor arrays. Forest fires clear the way for new growth. Volcanic eruptions create fertile soil. Even the most devastating natural processes serve a larger purpose in Earth's ecosystem. The Nautilus's systems, inspired by nature's most resilient organisms, continued to maintain their stable zone within the darkness. The ship's adaptive hull flexed and adjusted like a living thing, responding to subtle changes in the surrounding environment. Maya initiated a new sequence in their wave generation system. If we think of the Starweaver as part of a larger cosmic ecosystem, maybe we can understand its role. Dr. Wong, can you modify our output to match the thermal exchange patterns you observed in magma chambers? As the modified waves propagated through space, the Starweaver's response changed. The darkness began to pulse with complex patterns of energy that reminded Sarah of deep-sea creatures sharing resources through symbiotic relationships. Fascinating, Dr. Lyra whispered, her scientific equipment recording everything. Your species' understanding of natural systems is allowing you to perceive patterns we never considered. Where we saw only chaos and destruction, you see potential for harmony. James worked quickly to refine their translation algorithms. The Starweaver isn't consuming systems, it's converting them. Like how certain bacteria transform hostile environments into habitable spaces, we're witnessing terraform on a cosmic scale. The alien delegation watched in amazement as the humans continued to draw parallels between their harsh homeworld's processes and the cosmic entity's behavior. Where advanced civilizations had seen only an unstoppable force of destruction, these Deathworlders recognized familiar patterns of natural transformation. We need to adjust our approach entirely, Maya decided, beginning to implement a new strategy. Instead of trying to stop the Starweaver, we should focus on understanding its cycle. Every natural process has phases, patterns, and purpose. As the team worked to decode more of the entity's patterns, they drew increasingly from Earth's examples of symbiotic relationships and ecological transformation. The Starweaver's darkness no longer seemed menacing but familiar, a cosmic mirror of the natural forces that had shaped humanity's evolution. Ambassador Zixtel's color shifted to deep purple, a sign of profound respect. Your species truly sees the universe differently. Where we built technology to escape natural forces, you learn to understand and work with them. Perhaps this is why you alone could comprehend this entity's true nature. In the space between light and darkness, humanity's greatest lesson was becoming clear. Sometimes, the key to solving cosmic mysteries lies in understanding the simple truths of nature itself. The Nautilus's bridge hummed with activity as the human crew prepared to implement their most daring plan yet. The Starweaver's darkness surrounded them, but now they understood its patterns, its purpose, its place in the cosmic ecosystem. The wave harmonics are aligned, Sarah announced, her deep-sea expertise evident in the precise adjustments she made to their systems, just like coordinating with whale pods during migration season. Maya studied the swirling patterns of energy around their ship. Dr. Wong, are the thermal exchange protocols ready? We'll need perfect timing for this to work. Ready and calibrated, Marcus responded, his volcanic research experience proving invaluable. The energy flow matches what we see in Earth's major oceanic currents. We're not just communicating anymore. We're about to become part of its cycle. The alien observers watched in fascination as the humans prepared to attempt something unprecedented. Instead of trying to stop or redirect the Starweaver, they planned to synchronize with its natural rhythm. Your species continues to astonish us, Dr. Lyra noted, her tentacles moving in patterns of scientific wonder. Where we saw an unstoppable force of destruction, you recognized a natural process that could be understood and guided. James activated their modified sensor array, inspired by the electromagnetic sensitivity of sharks. The Star Weaver isn't destroying these systems, it's preparing them for something new. Like how volcanic activity on Earth created conditions for life to evolve. The darkness around them pulsed with increasingly complex patterns. The human crew had learned to read these signals like ancient sailors reading ocean currents and weather patterns. Each fluctuation told a story of cosmic transformation. Initiating primary sequence, Maya commanded. The Nautilus's systems, born from humanity's understanding of Earth's most extreme environments, began generating precise combinations of energy waves and gravitational fields. The effect was immediate and stunning. Where their waves met the Star Weaver's darkness, new patterns emerged, beautiful, complex structures of light and energy that reminded Sarah of deep-sea bioluminescent displays. "It's working," she breathed, monitoring the readings. "The energy conversion is following the same patterns we see in underwater thermal vents. We're not fighting the process, we're becoming catalysts for it." Ambassador Zixtel's chromatophores flickered rapidly as he watched the transformation unfold. "You're accelerating its natural cycle. How can you be certain this is safe? Earth taught us that trying to control natural forces is far more dangerous than learning to work with them," Marcus explained, fine-tuning their output. Every catastrophe on our world became a lesson in harmony rather than dominance. The Nautilus moved deeper into the darkness, their modified systems now perfectly attuned to the Star Weaver's energy patterns. Where other ships had been consumed, they'd flowed like a fish in familiar currents, their technology adapting and responding to each subtle change. "Look at this," James called out, highlighting new data streams. The systems the Star Weaver visited first are already showing signs of transformation. New types of energy patterns are emerging, like watching life return to a volcanic zone. The alien delegation gathered around his display, their various sensory organs taking in the remarkable data. What they had feared as destruction was actually metamorphosis on a cosmic scale. Maya smiled as she watched the patterns of light and darkness dance around their ship. Every challenge Earth presented made us stronger, not because we conquered it, but because we learned to understand it. The Star Weaver isn't our enemy, it's our teacher. As the Nautilus maintained its position within the transforming space, humanity's unique perspective had revealed something profound. The galaxy wasn't facing a crisis of destruction, but an opportunity for evolution. Their experience on Earth, learning to thrive in hostile conditions by understanding rather than opposing natural forces, had prepared them to guide the galaxy through its own metamorphosis. The darkness around them continued to pulse with new patterns of light and energy, like stars being born in the depths of space. In this moment, humanity's greatest contribution to the galaxy wasn't their resilience or their technology. It was their ability to see beauty and purpose in the most challenging transformations. The Grand Chamber of the Galactic Council bore little resemblance to the panic-filled room of 2 months ago. Now, holographic displays showed stunning images of transformed star systems, where the Star Weaver's touch had catalyzed the emergence of new forms of energy and matter. Maya stood before the assembled representatives, her Deathworlder heritage no longer a source of concern but of profound respect. Behind her, the rest of the Nautilus crew waited as living proof that understanding could triumph over fear. "The systems we thought were lost have been transformed," she explained, gesturing to the swirling patterns of light and energy. "Where we once saw destruction, we now see the birth of new possibilities. The Star Weaver wasn't a destroyer. It was preparing our galaxy for its next stage of evolution." Dr. Lyra's tentacles moved in patterns of scientific excitement as she presented their findings. The human crew's unique perspective, born from their harsh homeworld, allowed them to recognize patterns we had overlooked. Their experience with Earth's extreme environments gave them the framework to understand cosmic processes we had dismissed as chaos. The chamber filled with murmurs of amazement as Sarah stepped forward to demonstrate how they had adapted deep-sea communication techniques to interact with the entity. The holographic displays showed the Nautilus dancing through the darkness, using wave patterns inspired by whale songs to guide the Starweaver's transformative process. Every challenge Earth presented taught us something valuable, Sarah explained, her voice carrying clear conviction. The crushing pressures of ocean depths, the searing heat of volcanoes, the frozen wastes of our poles, each extreme condition prepared us to understand that nature's most dramatic changes often lead to new forms of life and energy. Marcus added his insights about how volcanic processes on Earth had helped them comprehend the Starweaver's role in cosmic renewal. The alien representatives watched in fascination as he drew parallels between terrestrial geological cycles and the entity's patterns of transformation. First speaker Nex's crystalline form chimed with harmonics of deep respect. Your species has changed our understanding of what it means to be advanced. While we sought to overcome natural forces, you learned to understand and work with them. This wisdom may have saved not just our galaxy, but our perspective on life itself. James activated a final display showing the first transformed system, now teeming with new forms of energy that defied conventional physics. Earth taught us that life finds a way, even in the most hostile conditions. The Starweaver wasn't hostile. We simply hadn't learned to see its purpose. Ambassador Zixtel's chromatophores shifted to colors of formal recognition as he addressed the council. I moved to reclassify humans not as Deathworlders, but as life shapers. Their ability to thrive in extreme conditions has given them insights that will be crucial to our galaxy's future. The council chamber erupted in agreements as species after species voiced their support. The classification was changed unanimously, marking the first time in galactic history that a Deathworlder species had been given a new designation. Maya smiled as she watched the celebrations unfold. Earth never made anything easy for us, she reflected. But every challenge shaped us, taught us, prepared us for something greater. We learned to see patterns in chaos, purpose in adversity, and possibility in the unknown. As the council session concluded, delegates from across the galaxy approached the human crew with questions about Earth's extreme environments and the lessons they held. The harsh world that had once marked humans as dangerous outsiders was now recognized as a crucible of wisdom and understanding. The Starweaver continued its journey through the galaxy, but now under the guidance of human insight. Its transformative power was welcomed rather than feared. Humanity had proven that their greatest strength wasn't their ability to survive a death world. It was their capacity to learn from it, to see beauty in its harshness, and to share those lessons with the cosmos. In the end, the galaxy's salvation came not from advanced technology or overwhelming force, but from the simple wisdom earned through generations of learning to thrive on a world that never stopped teaching.